Hey, good afternoon, everybody. We're back for our afternoon session for this is Wednesday. Um, if you participated this morning, thank you. It was a lively discussion for sure we learned a lot about what issues folks are having or had during the last couple of years and how things are, for most of us, still aren't back to normal, but we're working our way. So that'll be recorded. The group part of the Zoom mastermind this morning, and so that'll be available. So to this afternoon, we have three presentations. The first is by Joel Pigg, who's the project coordinator for the Texas Well Owner Network. He provides education to private well owners, and today he's going to talk about the program challenges that stem from COVID-19. So with that.
Okay, so my name is Joel Pigg. I am with the Texas Well Owner Network. Sorry I couldn't be with y'all this morning, but I am actually in the field doing a TWON program in Midland, Texas, and one tomorrow in Odessa, Texas. So we are released to do programs in Texas. So we are out doing as many as we can in hopes that we don't get shut down again. So in Texas, we do have over 1 million private water wells across the state. As y'all know and realize, we are a very large state. So if you can advance, there's about 2.2 million Texans living in rural areas and have small acreages that rely on private water wells for their primary drinking water supply. Advance. About 10% of the total population and 20% of the population living outside of cities drink well water. So again, we've got a vast majority of our state rural population that is on those private wells. They're not on the public drinking water supply systems. They are just on private wells within their own property. Okay. Advance, please. Okay. So Texas Well Owner Network, our project program goals, we want to change the knowledge, awareness, attitude, and actions of private well managers. We want to make sure that we improve the private well management to safeguard homeowners, their health, and to protect the aquifer resources that we've got across the state. Okay, so whenever COVID hit in Texas, the AgriLife Extension sent out this slide and the next couple of slides and said, okay, whenever you're going out in the field, we want you to put this on every presentation that you present with AgriLife, because we're trying to get the word out for COVID and make sure that everybody is on the same page. So first slide here, protect yourself and your community from COVID-19. Got the AgriLife Extension trademark and their symbols so that everybody knows that who we are and where we're presenting from. Okay, next one. Okay, so it just goes through the things that, back in March of 2020 is whenever all this stuff hit. So it was still relatively new. We weren't sure how long this was going to last, if it was going to be a big deal or a small deal. So again, they told us to put these presentations together, make sure we have these slides for the coughing and for washing hands, all of this stuff. So we were kind of very hesitant to do it at the beginning, but the bosses said do this. So the administration said put these slides in. So that's what we did. Next one, please. Okay, resources, they gave us some links for CDC. They gave us the texas.gov for our Texas, for Texas A&M University. So these are just 3 slides that we were told to put up as quickly as possible. So I think whenever I got these slides, I actually had a Master Gardener program that I was going to present about water wells. And so the first presentation we did, those 3 slides were put at the very beginning of my Master Gardener's presentation. We weren't sure where to go with them, but we put them in there because the administration said so. So that's, how that goes, guys. Next slide, please. Okay, March 2020, AgriLife Extension shut down all programs. We went on spring break and came back from spring break that year, and they told us, okay, that's it. No more going out in the public. We had several well-educated, which is my long 4-hour program. We had them on the calendars ready to go and present. One of those March 23rd in Bandera, Texas. Another one March 24th right outside of San Antonio. They told us we were not to go to those programs, so we reached out to extension agents and groundwater conservation districts that we had been working with to plan these events. Told them that administration from College Station had told us not to go. Lots of the county governments and county offices were running under different rules at that point, but the main administration for AgriLife told us, let's hold off on these programs. So we did what we were told and did not get to go out into the field. We also had several of the well-informed programs, which John Smith gives those for the TWON program. Well-informed is our 1 hour program. We had several of those on the books to do in the summer to fall of 2020. And again, those things were postponed because administration said we don't need to be out in public, and taking whatever COVID issues we had from College Station out to other parts of the state, or going to other parts of the state, getting in with their COVID protocols and trying to come back to College Station to our office. So at that point in March of 2020, the Texas A&M campus was shut down. They did not want us on campus. They did not want us in the public with our clientele. Okay, if we can advance. Okay, so we as a project decided, we can't sit at home and do nothing, and we have to do programs. That's what we do. We had to become comfortable and figure out how to do this program. The clientele that we typically have for a T1 program is a more mature audience, not the college-age student, not the young adults. We've got middle-aged to senior adults typically are what go to our program. And we quickly found out with our Healthy Lawns, Healthy Waters program and the T1 program that clientele was not real comfortable with Microsoft Teams. A Zoom link was a much more user-friendly program for our clientele to get into. They didn't have to download the Teams. Zoom, you just send them a link, they can get into it. So we became much more comfortable with Zoom on our programs because it seems like it's more user-friendly for our folks. We also determined rather quickly that we needed a tech person online during each of our meetings because, as y'all all know, it's hard to keep checking the chat section and watch what's going on. So we just had a tech person, myself or John. If we were doing a Healthy Lawns, I would be in the room with the computer watching what's going on with the Healthy Lawns. John was in my background doing the T1 stuff. We just felt more comfortable because as you all know, you get that one person that forgets to mute the screen or their volume, their microphones. So it's always good to be able to quickly shut those microphones off or possibly shut off a camera if we saw something nobody wanted to see. So we were working together behind the scenes to make these programs run as seamlessly as possible. Sure, we have a few technical difficulties as we go. Technology for us is really great when it works, but the remoteness of some of our places that we go do our program in some of the very rural parts of the state, the Wi-Fi is sketchy at best. So we have had technical issues, but we work through those as well as possible and try to make everything work to the best of our abilities. Okay, next slide, please. So as we continue through past spring break through March, April, May, we had deliverables that we felt needed to be accomplished, and utilizing the Zoom, we just, like I say, we presented Healthy Lawns, Healthy Waters programs. One problem that we see with the Texas Well Owner Network program is we can do educational presentations all day long over Zoom or Teams or whatever network that we've got. The problem that we run into is how do you remotely take a water sample and get that screened? Because we feel the water sampling is really the meat and potatoes of the T1 program. That's what people are wanting to know. So again, people were not comfortable with Teams. They were better at Zoom, but we just had to figure out how to remotely figure out how to get those water samples. Okay, next slide, please. So in July of 2020, we were to the point where we had to do some programs. Okay, so if you see the boxes on the screen, the orange looking box is where College Station's located. The first program we did was out in Hockley County, Texas, which is level land, about 800 or 460 miles from College Station. That's that green box. So we called the county extension office and asked them what their COVID protocols were, if they were released to do any programs, what they could, if clientele were allowed to come into their office, or if they could not do anything. Their county agent was ready to do a program. We had been talking to him for months to get a program in Hockley County. So we decided that the county extension agent would collect the samples for us, and then we would meet halfway between Hockley County and Brazos County with those samples, move them over to us. We would bring them back, process, and then do an online program. So this first program, we had 42 samples that exchanged hands with the agent. He met us with those samples, and then we did the educational component with it. So, 461 miles apart, but we did manage to get samples in our hands, get them processed, and get those results back to those 42 well owners. So we were very pleased and proud of that. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, in October 2020, we wanted to continue doing more programs. The processing them like we did and exchanging them worked very well, but we were trying to make sure we had deliverables due, and we wanted to get these programs working, and we wanted to do more programmings. So I came to the Texas Well Owner Network from a groundwater conservation district out in West Texas. The lab, or the groundwater district I came from, had a similar protocol, because I'm begged, borrowed, and stowed from Diane and Drew to get our program very similar. It was a very easy process. It works well. So I bought lab equipment for the groundwater conservation district that I was at. Same procedures. So I worked with 6 counties in West Texas out. I know y'all have all heard about Uvalde, Texas here in the last 24 hours. My county was 30 miles north of Uvalde, out in a very rural part of the state. So we had 6 counties out there. You can see the green block. We had Edwards County, Riall County, Sutton County, Kinney County. So all those counties, we got those folks out there to bring their samples to the local groundwater conservation district. They processed the samples for us, sent us those results, and then we had our educational meetings with the folks that brought those samples in. So we had 29 samples from those 6 locations, 2 groundwater conservation districts. Like I said, one of the districts I had worked in previously. The other district, one of the student workers that had worked for Drew and Diane was the manager of that district. So she knew the procedures. She had the similar lab setup. So she processed part of the samples. My district processed part of the samples, and we did everything else online. So it was a different type of scenario where we utilized local folks on the ground, and that was also a very good project for us. It proved that we could do, bring samples part way, or we could work with our local districts or our local county extension offices to get those samples processed. Again, samples are the most important part of this stuff for us. Without the samples, we don't have very many people show up at a program. So the sponsors were very receptive of our hybrid type programs. The Texas State Soil and Water Conservation Board funds the TWON program. They were very receptive of us trying these different scenarios for our program. They seemed to work, so we got some program delivery. Now, it's not as many programs as we would like to have carried off during that 2020 physical year, but we did get programs. We felt comfortable with it, so our delivery methods were changing and adapting as we move forward. Okay, next one, please. So in May of 2021, we had been in the office, stuck in College Station for a little over a year. Administration finally decided, okay, the COVID numbers across the state are not flourishing. It's not too bad in some locations. They said it was finally safe to travel. So we were eager to get out of the office, get out in the field with those clientele, So we decided we would make a couple of trips as quick as we could before they closed the doors, and decided we couldn't travel anymore. So we traveled to far west Texas. You see the block. We're talking about 600 miles from the house. We made, during this trip, we did one well-educated program, and we did 6 well-informed programs. So we did 7 total programs in a week and had 270 samples come in from these 8 or 9 counties out there in far west Texas. The 4-hour program we held in person. It was nice to get out in the field and interact. People, we have noticed that online there's not as many questions and not as much interaction with folks. When we're in the room, we can look at those looks on their faces and know that we've said something different or funny or whatever we need to say. So it seems like our hybrid type programs, anything online is, if it's a hour program, then it lasts about an hour. A 4-hour program probably lasts 3.5 hours or so, because we seem to fly through the slides a little bit quicker. When we're actually face to face with folks, that hour program may last an hour and a half or 2 hours. Our long program lasts the full 4 hours all the time. So we really prefer going into the field and seeing folks face to face. And one of the reasons we decided to go to far west Texas is it is a location that is underserved by our specialists out of the College Station area, because it is nearly 600 miles out there to the location. So the specialists don't get out there as often. Populations are a lot lower in far west Texas than they are around San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, in the center of the state. So we were thinking that if we went to those low population areas, we would not take things to them. There wouldn't be as many COVID issues, because a lot of those folks live out on the ranch and they only come to town occasionally. So we thought that we targeted that area in the hopes that COVID numbers would stay low. We wouldn't have issues. We couldn't have problems. So it was kind of a interesting decision on our part and on their part to have us and host us out there. But as you can see, 270 samples in a week from just, a very remote location. We were super proud that many samples came in and that we had this much response. So we were very, very pleased. Okay, the next one, please. Okay. June of 2021, COVID numbers still had not increased across Texas. So we were still able to travel. They had not shut us down. We were always checking the COVID maps across the state to see where the numbers were hot, where they were dwindling, or where they were spiking. So we were very careful. The programming in West Texas had been such a success that we decided we would go to the Metroplex area, Dallas-Fort Worth, a little bit west of that community, to do some programs. There's a couple of groundwater districts and a couple of county agents that really do good programming there, really bringing out numbers. So we thought it would be a good place to try. So from mid-May to mid-July, we did programming in 10 counties towards the Metroplex. We did 3 of the well-informed programs, or our short program. We did 295 and 4 well-educated, so 7 programs. We had 295 samples in those counties. So nearly 100 samples in the 2 large programs that we carried off in May and June of last year. So utilize the hybrid type program, where part of our stuff was, I know y'all are all aware of Diane Belstorff, that was the PhD in charge of our program. Diane retired on us last summer, so we don't have her expertise to carry us forward. So we were trying different things. Before Diane retired, she was a caretaker for her mother and father that lived there in College Station. Her mom and dad were in their 80s and 90s, and she did not feel comfortable going to some locations and being that responsible caretaker. She did not want to get COVID and take it back to her folks, being the age that they were. So again, we had hybrid type programs where I'm out in the field going live. John Smith goes out into our field live. But Ryan Gerlich, that does our septic portion, he's got 2 small children at home. Diane with her mom and dad. We just didn't feel comfortable exposing all of us to possible COVID issues. So we would actually go, I would do the live portion, I would do the sampling, I would come in and do the aquifers and the water well portion of it. Then Ryan would zoom in for his septic, and Diane would zoom in for the water quality and water treatments. So we found it worked very well to have those, hybrid type programs to get the information out, but not expose our whole team to any of the COVID issues that could possibly come in. Okay, next one, please. So August 2021, COVID numbers still had not spiked, and they were holding pretty constant across the state of Texas. We were very fortunate. We always expected whenever school would start and things would go on, especially on the A&M campus, we would have big spikes, but those never happened. So August 2021, our levels had not shut us down. We were back in business as usual. We've completed 11 programs with another 10 scheduled for the remainder of this year and into the fall and spring of fall of 2021 for 2022 and spring of 23. So we've got lots of things on the calendar. We still utilize Zoom for part of our presenters. We have found out that traveling is very difficult across Texas. As you saw a while ago, some of our 400, 500, 600 mile trips, it's hard to get all of our specialists and get us all to the same locations. So people are used to Zoom now. So it's been a very useful way to make that program more accessible to some of our clientele. So it's been very nice to be able to Zoom in Ryan or John or Diane for, just an hour program. I can come out and do a couple of days in these programs to do the water sampling, but it's nice for just a 1 hour program to be able to Zoom them in. So it's really worked out nice for us. It's saved us some dollars on travel budgets. The only other problem we've got is with our budgets, like anybody else, you may have issues where you didn't get to use travel for a year or a year and a half. So our budget was allocated where we had lots of travel money. But now, we're trying to figure out how to use that travel budget and how to get supplies and reallocate dollars. So part of our stuff is budget issues because nobody was prepared for not traveling and trying to get water samples done. It's just we've got some crazy issues like everyone else has got with budgets and reallocating dollars. Okay, the next one, please. Okay, so just a little bit of information on our programs. We do have 2 types of program. Well Educated is our half-day or 4-hour programming. We do water screening for, we look at nitrates, we look at bacteria, absence or presence of coliform, absence or presence of E. coli. And the area I'm in right now doing for Midland, Odessa, we actually look at arsenic as well. We look at the TDS in these locations. So where we go for the long program, short program, we do water screening for those parameters. Our long program, we talk aquifers, well basics, septic, water quality, water treatment. Our 1 hour or well-informed program, we do the water sample campaign, and we talk about wellhead protection and aquifer integrity and things like that. So very similar programs, just the well-educated is a much more intense program. Okay, next, please. Okay, our audience. As you can see from the charts here, most of our people are domestic livestock use for their wells. There's a little bit of irrigation, but not a whole lot of those. Rural property owners that have 10 acres or less are about half of our programs. When you add in the farms and ranches, it's probably about 90 to 95% of our audience is farm, ranch, rural property owners. So we have a very rural domestic clientele that we are out trying to talk about water wells. And, the first question we ask, as many of y'all probably do, when was the last time you had your water well checked? The main thing is, or the first answer that most of them give us is, I've been drinking this water for 40 years. We've never checked it. It's always looked good, smelled good, tasted good. So I've never thought about checking it. So we have to get past that barrier on a lot of these older well owners. Okay, next one, please. So again, and one of the other things that we find interesting is with extension service, we always have to have those parameters where we see if we're doing what we need to try to make the program better. So one of the questions on our evaluation instrument is estimate how valuable your participation in the water educational program has been to you. As you can see, our responses $100 to $249, $250 to $499, $500 to $999, $1,000 to $24.99, or $2,500 or more. Okay, so before COVID in 2020, the average value of our program to our clients out in the field was about $920. Okay, when we went to strictly hybrid, doing everything online the way we were doing, in 2020, the cost or the value that our folks decided that the program was to them dropped to $531. And then as we started getting back in the field doing live programs again, the value of our program in 2021 went up to $905. So again, we think people appreciate the hybrid type program or the online type program, but I think that they get a lot better response and they feel better about programs whenever we're live with them and they're actually there to ask questions live and we get those responses. So we found that kind of interesting that, the value for that program over the hybrid type program was half of what it is live. That was very interesting to us. Okay, next one, please. And that is that's kind of our insights that what we've seen over the last couple of years. I would be interested to know if people find like things going on in other states and across the regions. We love to go out and interact with our folks. The live programs are so much more fun and so much more enlightening for our folks. We can actually pass out all of our educational materials, our workbooks, our fact sheets. We get more buy-in from our clientele doing the live version than what we get for the hybrid type programs. Okay, so hybrid type programs, yes. I see a question here. We did send out Zoom links. We did send those Zoom links out to the folks that brought samples in. We asked them to give us their email address. We would send the Zoom links to them. We would give it to the county agents on the flyers and press releases that we pass out for our programs. So the people were allowed to or able to do. They could do it either their own, or a lot of the county extension agents would try to bring those folks into one room there at the extension office or the groundwater office and put us remotely on their computer or on their screen there at the office. So we had kind of a two-pronged method, either one-on-one with those guys if they wanted to log in, or at their, at the county office.
Thank you. So I see, I can't imagine going 600 miles. My question was going to be before you said, we did 5 or 6 trains together. I get that. It's got to be.
Whenever we do programs when we try to go out to those kind of programs, it makes more sense to do 4, 5, 6 programs and just do a solid week of sampling and educational programs. 600 miles for a single one-day program is really not economically feasible. So we try to we use our grant dollars as wisely as possible to make sure we get the most bang for the dollar that we've got. And so that's the rationale for what we do that.
And I have one other question, and that was in a given year, not a COVID year, about how many well owners participate in your programs annually?
Okay, so typically we try to do 10 of the long programs and 10 of the short programs. And we probably have anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 wells that we do in an average year.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks, Joel. Great presentation. It's good to hear more about your program and see that it's, so successful and doing such great work.
Thank you. Appreciate it.